You're listening to the Options Insider Radio Network, the home of the Options Podcast. For more quality options programs, visit theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app available in the iTunes and Google Play stores. Select programs are also available via live stream at mixlr.com/options-insider. That's mixlr.com/options-insider. Don't forget to follow along with your favorite programs and submit your own questions for the hosts at twitter.com/options, stocktwits.com/options, facebook.com/theoptionsinsider, or via questions at theoptionsinsider.com.
All right, everybody, it's that time of year, time for our mid-year checkup on how the Google trends are shaping up for the options market and all things options related, like volatility and all that sort of fun. So without further ado, let's get started. Let's kick it off top level and kind of drill in from there, shall we? Kick it off with just options trading, a pretty straightforward search term, by the way. Of course, if you know anything about Google Trends, they show you the search interest in terms of a graph with the peak, the top level of interest. In our case, we're going back over the past year. That top level of interest is 100 is the top of the graph, and everything else is some level underneath. So it shows you the evolution of interest over time in these terms. And options trading, you probably would be forgiven for assuming the interest in options trading over the past year would have peaked, I don't know, maybe April 8th, for example, probably a good starting point. Maybe you could be forgiven for saying maybe towards the election, the immediate aftermath of the election. There are a lot of catalysts over the past year that you could point to, but it was actually neither of those events. It was actually the week of June 8th that was the apex, the peak of options trading interest on our graph. April 8th coming in actually at number 2. So only an 88 by way of comparison, with 100 coming in on June 8th. So very interesting, maybe a little bit surprising. If we go back to the election last year, we're hanging out right around a 70, 75. Now, if you're wondering what are your top areas of interest in options trading, our top 5, Google calls them sub-regions. We can call them states, but sub in what you like there. Number 5, we have Texas. Number 4, New Jersey. Number 3, California. Number 2, DC, the District of Columbia sneaking in there. And then number 1, New York. I don't see Maine in there anywhere, so obviously the Rock Lobster has not been doing his usual work to keep Maine at the top of the charts in terms of Google search interest for options trading. Let's keep going. Let's drill down a little bit. Let's get to some more specifics. Let's go to call options, for example. And again, that's another one you might assume April 8th, probably the apex of the graph, and you would be correct. Well, maybe half right, because it's actually a tie between April 8th and December 8th. The graph actually peaks out at 2 separate parts, which is kind of interesting and or surprising. Getting towards the middle of December, not usually a hot time for interest in options trading. And if you go back to around the election of last year, hanging out around an 80. And once again, going to the top sub-regions and ranking them the top 5 in terms of interest in call options. Number 5, Hawaii. Again, these are by capita, so that's why the Rock Lobster can gum up the works up there in Maine by himself. Not a lot of people searching for options in Maine, so one guy going crazy covers a lot of ground in the Google search data. So Hawaii, number 5 for call options. Interesting. Number 4, Massachusetts. Number 3, New York. Number 2, DC. Yet again, DC coming in number 2 back to back. And then number 1 this time, New Jersey. New Jersey kicking New York all the way down to number 3. Don't see Illinois, don't see Chicago, any of those sub-regions here on the list, which is kind of fascinating. Let's get an options-related term now, shall we? Let's go out to volatility. And this is another one you probably would assume the interest in all things volatility would have peaked on April 8th, and you were correct. That is the apex of our chart, and nothing else, interestingly enough, is even close. We maybe get to about a 70 at the beginning of June, and that's kind of really about it. So Google search interest in volatility really aggressively peaking right around that week of April 8th and then kind of falling off, which is kind of fascinating. Once again, let's go to see what our top 5 areas of interest are in all things volatility. Number 5, once again, New Jersey. Number 4, Massachusetts. These charts are looking eerily similar, listeners. Number 3, Connecticut, my old stomping ground. CT sneaking in there for interest in all things vol. That's fascinating. Once again, number 2, DC. Take a guess. Number 1, yeah, it's New York. So very, very interesting charts here. Let's go out to another options-related term. Let's go out to covered calls, shall we? And this is one you could pick maybe any number of periods. I don't think a lot of people were thinking about covered calls during the big sell-off on April 8th, but perhaps. And that is, of course, reflected in the data. April 8th, not at the top of our list. We have another dual peak for this chart, February 16th and June 16th. So very recently, and then back again in February. So 2 periods where interest in covered calls really seemed to peak. April 8th, we were actually back down around the 70-75 level, which again, not exactly surprising. I think a lot of people were looking towards other things, catching the proverbial falling knife, trying to figure out what to do with their portfolio, how to hedge, how to speculate. Not a lot of folks looking to do covered calls when the market is falling out of bed day after day. And again, in terms of the top 5 areas of interest for covered calls, once again, number 5, we're going back to Hawaii. Very interesting data here in 2025. Number 4, Connecticut. So Connecticut slipping to number 4 here on the list for covered calls from number 3 overall for vol. Number 3, Washington State. Interesting. Haven't seen them appear on our charts before. Number 2, New Jersey. And then number 1, California for interest in covered calls. Now, whenever you have multi-word search terms like that, there is a possibility of other things slipping in there, maybe gumming up the data. But either way, that's how it's shaping up right now. Let's keep things options related as well. Let's go to the other side. We talked about covered calls. Let's go to cash secured puts, shall we, listeners? This is another one. I don't think a lot of people were looking at cash secured puts. Obviously, some folks were, and if they did, it worked out for them. But back in April 8th, maybe other things were coming to mind rather than diving in to sell puts. And so April 8th, not at the apex of our list. In fact, it looks like April somewhere around the 60% range on this list. The peak actually coming back again in mid-February, February 16th. You know, if you've been paying attention to a lot of the names out there, we had some aggressive sell-offs post-Valentine's Day. And a lot of names, at least until the last few weeks, really had their apex for the year right around Valentine's Day. So probably a lot of correlation with that and this chart. Either way, February 16th coming in once again at the top of the list for interest in cash secured puts. And let's get out of here on just more straightforward put options themselves. Obviously, interest in those typically tends to spike when the market's falling out of bed and the sky is falling. So you probably would be safe to assume that the April 8th period was the apex of interest in all things put options, and you would indeed be correct, followed by a second spike up to about 78, again, very recently, that week of June 8th. So April 8th, and then number 2 would be June 8th, coming in around actually a 78, so much lower than we saw back in April. Worth noting, the interest in put options increasing steadily ever since last June, with its apex coming all the way in April. So interesting stuff there. Let's see, where are folks the most interested in puts? Let's find out. Number 5, Delaware. Huh. Making first appearance. In fact, I think all of these are newcomers to our Google Trends mid-year update list, so that's always fascinating. Number 5, Delaware, hotbed of put options if ever there was one. Number 4, right behind it, we have Utah, another newcomer. Number 3, Forget about Connecticut. We're going one state to the east. Yes, it's Rhode Island coming in at number 3. Number 2, out to Kansas. We're going all over the place this time, listeners. And number 1, the top area of interest for put options in the United States right now, halfway through 2025. What is it? Well, of course, it's South Dakota. Where else would it be? Wow. That is a wild list. Number 5, Delaware. Number 4, Utah. Number 3, Rhode Island. Number 2, Kansas. And number 1, South Dakota. Did you have any of those names on your bingo card, listeners? I know I certainly didn't. That's what makes it fun. That's why we crunch the numbers at the end of the day. If you have an interesting search term you think we should crunch the data for, hit us up. Let us know. Otherwise, we'll see you back here on the network with more great options content very soon.
You're listening to the Options Insider Radio Network, the home of the Options Podcast. For more quality options programs, visit theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app available in the iTunes and Google Play stores. Select programs are also available via live stream at mixlr.com/options-insider. That's mixlr.com/options-insider. Don't forget to follow along with your favorite programs and submit your own questions for the hosts at twitter.com/options, stocktwits.com/options, facebook.com/theoptionsinsider, or via questions at theoptionsinsider.com.